first 23 years of my life I spent in Canada. The second 23 in a completely different place, Latvia. The first part of my adult life, I spent it as an English lit major, reading and writing poetry. Then I switched to a completely unrelated field, environmental research. And then for 9 years, I've been organizing concerts. Concerts that combine two completely, seemingly unrelated things, arts and science, to help audiences experience nature. Each year, we start in autumn, and then we spend the next period until the summer to create a concert dedicated to a specific element in nature. But we never know what the topic will be, where it will take place, and how we'll do it. For instance, last year, we started with the topic of meadows. We were sure that was what we were going to do. We still had to think about whether we were going to talk about butterflies or about a specific plant, but it was clear the topic was meadows. The musicians were already creating music on this topic. All we had to do was find a couple of botanists who could help us with the topic and to talk about the science part, and we needed a place to hold it, a meadow. But that's really simple, because Latvia is full of meadows, so our job is easy. And also, we had a municipality, Ogre, which had wanted us to showcase the concert, the performance, in their area for already the past 3 years. For the past 3 years, Ogre had invited us to hold the concert in their area. But unfortunately, in 2010, we had the topic of the red-bellied toad. The red-bellied toad jumps nowhere near Ogre because it prefers the southern part of Latvia. Then we had the topic of the seaweed, the bladderwrack, in 2011, which, as you know, those of you who know Latvia, that Ogre is nowhere near the sea. But the person in Ogre, Valda, she really wanted us to be in Ogre, so she kept inviting us. So the topic of meadows, knowing that in Latvia there are just so many, we thought, I'm sure there'll be a meadow there. So we went to Ogre Blue Hills to meet Valda, who was taking us through her national park. And in the national park, Blue Hills, we went with the musician, who happens to be my husband, the scientists who we work with every year, who are a base scientists group that we have, and myself. And we were driving in the car through the park, getting out every so often and stopping at a meadow. We'd get out in the meadow, look around. This isn't quite right. It's not what we pictured what we would need for the concert. And we continued to do this for quite a while. And already the musician, my husband, was getting pretty discouraged. And he was basically ready to go home. This is not the place we can have the concert. I really think we have to choose another place. But I said, come on, Valda's been waiting for us for 3 years, let's give her a chance. So we went to the northeastern end of the park, and there we were joined by Ivars, who's a botanist. And he started telling us about the park from the scientific or the environmentalist point of view. We were standing on this north end of the park with a beautiful view over the park, and with a long winding ridge and a hill at the end. And then he started talking about the esker. This geological formation that has been formed in the ice ages, from ice that has pushed sand and formed these ridges that were in front of us. At that point, I realized this is where we're going to have our concert, and we have to switch our topic. But I looked at my husband, explained to him that maybe we should change the topic, and I got a real death stare. Any one of you who has a musician or another artist as either a colleague or your spouse, you realize that to tell them at the point that they've already conjured up their ideas on meadows, and they have the meadows still in their heads, it's kind of impossible to tell them to switch their topic. But nonetheless, 10 months later, this is where we stood, the place where Ivars convinced us to choose the topic esker and to have it in the Ogre Blue Hills. He stood there himself telling the story, the myths of how these esker were created, the big huge ogre giants who had pushed the sand instead of the ice that we know scientifically that does this. And that's what the Nature Concert Hall is about. It's about scientists like Ivars and others that we've worked with who become storytellers. It's about the musicians who read scientific articles, and yes, they read these scientific articles and publications for 10 months before the concert, so in order that they can create the music so that it can really tell the audience about what this particular element of nature is about. And it's about the educators and artists in each one of us who organize the concert, trying to develop new ways for audiences to learn. And it's about our guests, our audiences, who really get inspired. 9 years ago, through word of mouth, we held our first concert, and about 400 people assembled in a small village in Latvia to learn about Osmoderma eremita, a big, pretty ugly, but rare beetle, to listen to music and see the trees for their leaves. Because contrary to the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees, we believe you have to zoom in real close, on a microscopic level, to understand, by crouching on the ground and inspecting all that lives within the lichen, by bringing the murky Baltic Sea water out into aquariums to see the exotic hidden among this gray water that we're so used to. Only then can we really understand the importance of small things in the overall movements of our world. And only then can we understand our role and our responsibility. 9 years after the first Nature Concert Hall, we have 10,000 people that assemble each year in 2 different locations each summer. And here they come to feel inspired. But what assembles these people each year? It's a symbiosis of scientific knowledge about nature with the arts, with music, musicians, images, lights, and literature. Together with different scientists each year, the Nature Concert Hall selects a hero from nature, a bird, a plant, even rocks can be interesting. Geologic formations, building this educational performance, honoring that particular entity that we've chosen that year. The biggest compliments that I get are the complaints. Parents that stop my husband and I when we're in the shopping mall, complaining about the fact that their kids are requesting microscopes rather than toys for presents. The fanatic Latvian mushroom pickers who are distracted from the things that they want to pick on the forest floor, and they start looking at the lichen instead. Impatient audiences that contact me through Facebook or elsewhere 8 months, 6 months, 2 months before the concert, asking, when is the concert going to take place? Where is it going to be? What will be the topic this year? I'm trying to arrange my vacation. I need to know. We even had a municipal leader complain about having to fire his maintenance staff if he had all events similar to ours in his area. Why? Because after the concert, there was no necessity for anyone to clean up afterwards, because in the sand dunes there was no damage, and also there was no garbage left after 5,000 people had been in his municipality for this event. Some people call me, of our team, they call me the mother of the Nature Concert Hall. I work behind the scenes. I'm trying to check that everything's okay. I'm trying to provide encouragement when all is lost, because each year we do have these moments where we feel like all is lost. We've had a municipality back down out of an event 6 weeks before the concert. We've had changes of topics in years because we realized that we need different inspiration for the audience. And because we are a nonprofit organization, we do the most to make sure that we're doing the most professional job, but able to do it with the minimal resources. And thus, the musicians, their studio, it is in our home, and a lot of meetings that we have are in my home as well. So, abundance of coffee, that's one of my jobs that I have to do, is make the coffee, and also sometimes have to feed the masses when we get together for meetings. And then there's my annual struggle with our producer. Because the music part of the event occurs at night, we really need it to be dark when the concert part starts. And those of you who know Latvia, you have to wait sometimes pretty long to get to the dark in the summer, right? So there's this annual struggle between myself and the director where I'm worried about the impatience of the audience, and he wants to make it darker, 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 so that to get the maximum effect of our concert. But besides this struggle, on the day when the concert's occurring, there's not much left for me to do. I'm kind of filling the gaps, but mostly what I do is I like walking around and listening to the people. Seeing them relax on their blankets, enjoying what they brought along, enjoying each other's company, enjoying and being peaceful, harmonious in the atmosphere that is of the Nature Concert Hall. Then I take my own blanket and I sit amongst my own family and friends and my 2 children. And when the music part starts, when the darkness comes in, and when other people are looking at the stage, what I do is I'm looking around at the audience. And here I love to look at the amazement that people have in their eyes, to hear the wow, oh, of people watching what's going on stage. I love to look at the couples lying in the grass, simply just looking at the stars and meditating to the music that we have. For 5 years, we worked with Pēters Brūvers, who works at translating the characteristics of nature into a language humans can understand. A year before his passing, he suffered from a stroke. And at that point, he lost all ability to speak and to formulate his thoughts. He was always a quick wit, and he is really the best poet I will ever know. And here he was, frustrated, unable to formulate his thoughts. He, my loving interpreter of nature speak to human speak, was void of this tool for translation. Since his passing, we are trying to fulfill this void. A new generation of interpreters needs to be born who can translate from nature to human speak. It's not just about poetry or music or even education and science. It's about becoming people that find balance between what we need as people to survive on this earth and prosper, and conserve nature, which is vital for us to do this. We need to have sustainability as a default setting, despite any other term that we have among the human race about economic crises that we have, social injustice, industrialization, or whatever else. We need to found what we do on the concept that whatever we have to innovate to prosper for the environment. Nature's good. Nature's always good. But we need to fully understand it if we wish to prosper. Nature Concert Hall is difficult to explain if you have never been there. So we brought it to you here for a small slice of inspiration. Imagine yourself in the middle of a Latvian forest, on the seaside in Kurzeme, or in a meadow. Listen and take this with you next time. Listen, kneel down, get up real close, and discover what you've never seen before. Thank you.